When and where do you do your best thinking? Is it at work, in the shower, when you're taking a run? How often are you able to come up with creative ideas on demand during a workday or examine all sides of an issue and quickly come to consensus with a team? If you're like most people, you may be groaning a bit inside as you consider those options. So let me ask you another question. How would you like to easily and effortlessly improve the outcome of your thinking by yourself, with another person, or with a team? Well, this is Diane Chu of Simply Successful Coaching and Consulting, and I've been using the Six Thinking Hats process in both my personal and professional life for over 20 years. And it's truly an amazing process created by Debono, a leading authority in creative thinking, has both an MD and PhD, and his process can truly be thought of as new software for the mind. Now, consider some of the challenges we encounter when we are trying to do our best thinking. The first is confusion. It's the biggest enemy of good thinking. We try to do too many things at once. We look for information, we're affected by feelings, we seek new ideas and options. We certainly want to find the value in new ideas, but we also have to be cautious. We have concerns. There are a lot of things that need thinking about. It's really like trying to juggle with six balls. It's tough. And team thinking is typically based on argument and analysis. Even though the team members may not always be aware of it, new ideas are met with an average of 7 hits about why they won't work. Everyone has their point of view. They're all valid, but it's really hard to come to consensus in any kind of a reasonable time frame based on good, solid analysis. And then just think about how tough it is to really think about new ideas and be creative and innovative. In this fast-paced world, we're often in such a hurry to get to the solution and figure everything out that we often don't even allow time for pure creativity and possibility thinking. So we keep doing things the same old way, even though you know in your heart it could be improved upon, or we change things for the sake of change and we don't really think through the implications. So, considering these challenges and being passionate about the ongoing need for creative solutions, Debono came up with the 6 Thinking Hats, a systematic way to approach thinking about any given objective. Now, initially, the purpose of this process was twofold: to simplify and switch thinking. So first of all, the process simplifies thinking by allowing an individual or team to deal with one type of thinking at a time. If you go back to our juggling analogy, it's much easier to toss up one ball at a time than to try to juggle with 6. Secondly, it allows us to separate out different aspects of thinking and be able to switch from one aspect to another. The system provides a focus for looking at benefits, then risks, then ways to overcome obstacles, and so forth. And the benefits are just tremendous. Here are really just a few. It releases us from the traditional argumentative mode and reduces conflict. It encourages something called parallel thinking, which I'll explain further in just a moment. And then it allows for a team or an individual to call for a specific type of thinking that is needed at a given point in time and also explore a subject more thoroughly. So, bottom line, it really not only provides specific time for creative thinking and for looking at old issues in a new way, but you really do get better results faster. And isn't that what we all want? So let's just take a look at what we mean, first of all, by the hats and by parallel thinking. The 6 Thinking Hats process plays on the idea of putting on your thinking cap, a concept which is understood by many cultures. And while you won't literally be asked to put on a hat, I promise you, you will be asked to put it on metaphorically. And once you do put on the hat, it represents a specific type of thinking. And when you have that hat on, when the team has that hat on, you operate exclusively in that mode of thinking for a specific amount of time. So the nice thing is that you do get a team thinking in parallel. Now, to understand parallel thinking, which is amazingly powerful, just consider that there's a large and beautiful country house that needs some upgrades and some repairs. One person is standing in front of the house, one behind it, and one on each side. So all four have a different view of the house, all of which are valid views, but they're all arguing that their view is the correct view, and they're putting forth their recommendations based on their point of view. Now, if they all come together and walk around the house looking at each side together at the same time, in parallel, they achieve a much more thorough and complete view of the house and can even come to an agreement about repairs needed or upgrades that would improve the house and grounds. And you'll see how this parallel thinking works so well to once again get away from the natural argument and analysis approach to team thinking and allows for better results much faster. So let's take a brief look at the kind of thinking that is done under each of the 6 hats. First of all, the white hat. For the white hat, think about facts and figures, objective data. And when you've got the white hat on, you're typically looking for information that is currently available or information that is needed. And the kinds of questions that you would want to be asking is, what do we know? What do we need to find out? Who's going to get the information? Where are they going to find that information? And when are they going to get it? So it's all very objective and is often done early in a sequence of 6 thinking hats because you need to have the facts and some objective data before you can really move forward. So when you think about the white hat, think of white paper to help you remember the kind of thinking that's done under that hat. White computer paper, facts and figures. The green hat is all for creativity. It's about possibility thinking. And when you've got the green hat on, you want to be playful and prolific. This is not the time to analyze ideas. You want to look for ideas behind ideas and really reserve analysis and judgment, as you'll see in just a moment, for the yellow and black hats. So the green hat is all about asking questions such as, what are the possibilities? What are the alternatives? What's an easier way? What haven't we tried before? What have other people tried? How can we make it more, fill in the blank, easier, more fun, cost less, cost more? But the bottom line is it's all about really stretching those limits and thinking out of the box. So think vegetation and growth when you have the green hat on. The yellow hat is all about the logical benefits of an idea. This is all about the values, the cultural fit, and interestingly enough, it's harder to come up with the benefits of an idea than it is to come up with the downsides or the negative aspects of an idea. So the yellow hat should always come before the black hat when you're doing a sequence of the 6 hats. And the kinds of questions that you want to be asking are, what's the value in this idea? What are the benefits? How does this fit with our experience, our values? Who will really love this idea? So you'll want to think about sunshine and smiles when you have the yellow hat on. It's all about the benefits. So the yellow hat is and does necessarily have to be followed by the black hat. The black hat is, on the one hand, one of the most useful hats, but on the other hand, it's often overused. Because this is all about the logical obstacles. It's about critical judgment, looking at what can go wrong, what kinds of consequences might occur, what kinds of cautions do you need to take. It's really easy to overuse, and there are some people that tend to wear the black hat all the time, but the nice thing about it is that you can ask them to reserve their input until the whole group is doing some black hat thinking, so that together in parallel you're looking at what might get in the way, What are the potential problems? What could go wrong? Where do we need to be cautious? How does this fit with the rules, the strategy, and the culture? And once you come up with a lot of black hat aspects of an idea, you can use the green hat thinking to then overcome obstacles. But once again, the black hat is obviously a very useful hat and needs to be considered before any idea can be implemented. So when you think of the black hat, think of a stern judge. The red hat is one of the most interesting hats because it actually allows space for feelings to come into a thinking process. And typically, feelings are often kept out of a process, and yet they're incredibly valuable because they're oftentimes based on intuition, which is in turn based on experience. Emotions can be very valuable. You can have a hunch, which can, or a gut response, and those hunches and responses are often very informative. And the nice thing about emotions that are expressed under the red hat is that they don't have to be justified. So it's often used in a very quick sequence. You can certainly use it to get a temperature check during a meeting and just see how people are feeling and decide if you need to take a break or if they're ready to keep going. It can also be used for voting, where people can vote on their favorite ideas and not have to explain why, but they can just choose the ideas they like the best. So the red hat is all about asking questions such as, how do I feel about this? What's my intuition telling me? What kind of ideas do I like the best? Which things, do I want to take off the table? So the bottom line is it gives you time and space to bring those feelings into play. So you want to think fire and warmth when you think of red hat thinking. And then last but not least, we have the blue hat. And the blue hat is all about process control. And there's often one person who is the key player who wears the blue hat during a Six Thinking Hats process, and they think about the thinking. They're keeping an eye on the agenda. They're keeping an eye on the time. They're asking for conclusions and decisions. They summarize and ask for next steps. And though one person usually leads, almost anyone can put on their blue hat and make an observation, such as somebody's making a comment that doesn't belong under the kind of thinking you're doing. So as you play out the process, you'll see how anyone can wear the blue hat for a moment to make an observation about the kind of thinking that's being done. But the key facilitator will have the blue hat on throughout the whole process. So just think blue sky or overview for the blue hat. So that's an overview of the 6 different hats, and there are all different kinds of sequences that you can do for a given objective. You might start out in this case with some green hat or creative thinking. You can use the red hat to vote on your favorite ideas. Then you can take each idea, look at the value of the idea, look at any obstacles around that idea, and then do some green hat thinking again to overcome the obstacles. And all the while, there'll be a facilitator wearing the blue hat to manage the time and the thinking. So as you can see, in a very short period of time, you can come up with powerful ideas that are explored very thoroughly and can actually be implemented in a stepwise fashion. So that's an overview of this very simple but incredibly powerful tool that you and your business can use to create a climate of clearer thinking, improved communication, and greater creativity. So I hope you enjoyed this overview, and happy thinking.